one thing I want to talk about too was earlier you said that we all have the capacity for evil, and something that's come up recently was the Florida school shooting, right? And when I see a lot of people post on that about in social media, they always want to say that they always want to blame, I guess, mental illness on what caused it, or I mean, they can say whatever a whole slew of things caused it, but one thing that commonly is said is, well, he was psychotic or he was mentally ill, and there's always this kind of distancing, right, from the perpetrator to where that could never be me. There's something messed up with him, and that's not, in my capacity to ever do. Same could be said about the atrocities of the Nazis or
Yeah,
um,
that's a form of demonization.
mhm. Yeah, it's just like that tendency to kind of say that's like a different breed of human being almost, to where they can't relate to that.
Subhuman, a monster. And I could never be capable of that. But look, the reality is, uh, in the recent Florida shooting, I mean, the reality is this was a very, very angry young man, very, very angry. And again, it's a good example, as most of these mass shootings are. It's a good example of what happens when one doesn't really deal with the daimonic. Anger would be one aspect of the daimonic. Uh, he was very angry. He had a lot of good reasons to be angry. He had a lot of hard knocks in his life. He was adopted. Then his adopted mother died. I mean, he had a lot of things happen to him, traumatic things, uh, for which he had every right to be angry. But he didn't know how to deal with his anger. He didn't know how to deal with his rage. And it was coming out all over the place. People were seeing it. It was leaking out all over the place, and in his behavior and things that he said. But no one apparently was able to help him to really address it. To me, this is a real tragedy. And it kind of comes full circle to our, earlier discussion about what's happening in the field of psychotherapy now. Because people don't really want to deal with the daimonic. The psychotherapists don't even want to deal with the daimonic.
Right.
They want things to be nice and easy and quick, and just give him some medication. He may have been taking medication. A lot of times these perpetrators have taken medication, or currently are taking it when they do the evil deed. The Las Vegas shooter was using some kind of anti-anxiety medication, um, but obviously he was angry as well. But we know very, very little about him, and what drove him to that. But this kid was just absolutely furious, and he was acting out his rage in every way possible. There were a lot of red flags flying around. There's almost always, in hindsight, there's red flags, but uh, unfortunately he did not get the kind of help that he really needed. Now, what kind of help is that? Well, I would say it's that kind of help that would have helped him, that would have uh, assisted him to really come to terms with his rage about his life and about what's happened to him in his life. And to somehow learn to express that constructively, to actually use that energy, use that anger constructively. But he did not know how to do that. So when the anger or the daimonic, it can't just be repressed chronically. So it's going to come out one way or the other. And if a constructive outlet or a creative outlet isn't established, isn't discovered, then it's going to come out destructively. And of course, that's what happened here. Came out in the most destructive way possible.